welcome everyone to your PhD, academia, industry, one or the other, or both. My name is Naadiya Caarim. I'm Research Engagement Manager here at KAUST, and this is the third in a series of alumni career conversations the Alumni Office is facilitating. Their aim is to support current and future students and alumni who are feeling pressured into academia or industry or into just making a decision. So I'm joined today by three inspirational women, all PhD KAUST graduates and all in various different roles. So I'm going to stop talking here and we can just get a chance to hear from you three. So welcome everyone. You are very delighted that you're here with us today. Sara, Shahad and Nuha. Sara, I might hand it over to you first to introduce yourself. You can just tell us where you are now, what's your position and perhaps what you did in KAUST.
Sure. Thanks, Nadia. So thank you, Nadia, and thank you, alumni team. You're really great for organizing these sessions. My name is Sara Livazovic. I am in KAUST since 2012. So I came in 2012 to do my PhD in NSC, and I graduated in 2016. I got my PhD diploma, and I'm currently working in Dow Middle East Innovation Center on campus, so still on KAUST. As a senior research specialist.
Wow, very, very impressive. Okay, let's hear more about that a little bit later on. So Nuha, if I can hand it over to you as well, because I believe you two are still in the kingdom.
Yes, I'm in Jeddah in Saudi Arabia. Actually, currently I'm an assistant professor of physics in King Abdulaziz University in Jeddah. I got my PhD and master degrees from KAUST in material science and engineering program. Actually, I have lived in KAUST from 2011, like Sara, until the end of 2015. I finished my PhD. And yeah, now I'm teaching, I'm doing like research in King Abdulaziz University.
Amazing. I'm looking forward to hearing more about what it's like to be a female in academia in Saudi Arabia. Shahad, you're calling in from the States this morning.
Yeah, good morning. So yeah, I'm a postdoc at the Koch Institute at MIT. I joined KUST in 2012 and I earned my PhD in 2018. Then I received the IBK Fellowship Award to continue my research at MIT.
Very impressive. My goodness. I feel very small right now compared to you three. Fantastic where you all are. Sara, how did you get to where you are now? I think that's like the first thing that I'd like to ask. I also did my PhD. I was a postdoc and now I'm working in KAUST as a research engagement manager. I think everybody has a story to tell. And I think our listeners today would really like to understand from all three of you, how did you make the decision to go into where you are right now?
Yeah, well, first of all, I think me coming to KAUST was, one of those things that just happen when you definitely don't plan for it. So I was going to my university where I did my bachelor and my master in Croatia in chemical engineering. And I was going to my university to get a transcript to apply for positions in Europe. Saudi was not on my list. And then when I went there, I saw this A4 paper on the dashboard. God knows how it ended up there, asking that my advisor was looking for a PhD student to work in this field. And, it was this old picture, if you remember, the old screensaver that KAUST used to have with this kind of the beacon and the mirror of the beacon and the campus on the bottom.
Yeah.
It looked really nice. And then I thought, why not? Let me try to apply. And I liked the project. I liked the professor. I liked the whole KAUST concept. I Googled it, I applied, and 8 years later, I'm still here. So I think so I work in industry, and I think I was lucky, let's say, that my undergrad and my master university in Croatia was very much industrially oriented. So it was already kind of set up. The professors were all from industry. So they used to work in industry and then they work in the university. So the whole lab work, the courses we had, and the whole kind of mindset was really, you need to work on a problem. So, you don't just do the theory and the concepts, you focus on the issues in the industry. So that's with what I came to KAUST. And of course, PhD, but I wanted to do PhD. I really wanted to do, because I think, and maybe that's one advice I would say, to if our master's students who will watch this as well, if you go for the higher education, then whatever you do in your life, whether you stay in the field or not, you will have that stepping stone for you, that you can move on further in your career. But I really wanted to stay in industry because I like the dynamic. I think pure research for me, academia is extremely stressful and kind of draining. In industry, things work very fast. Of course, we do research, but you don't do well. You have a problem, it doesn't work, let's move to the next one. So you don't really, I always used to say, you invest so much and you get milligrams, when you do in research. And in industry, the dynamic is much faster and I like it. So I work in the lab, but I also attend business meetings. I talk to customers. So I do many different things and I like that. I like to have that dynamic.
Brilliant. No, thank you for being so honest and frank. And I guess you're right. It is a little bit different when you're in industry. You are dealing with, let's say, real world issues. I mean, basic research and blue sky research is so important. Of course, it's the basis for all of that. But as you said, it can be very tiresome and you can get a little bit frustrated at times. It sounds like industry is the perfect fit for you. Absolutely.
For me, definitely, yeah.
Definitely. It's quite interesting that you said that your former universities had this industry element to it. And do you think that if anybody wants to go into industry, they should try and get like an internship in industry beforehand, that they should try and kind of get some experience before this to get a feel of whether they like it or not? And also, do you think it looks better on their resume if they do this?
I think it depends what they want later on. What I definitely think that universities are missing, most of them, is having a bit of, kind of industry touch in their courses. So for example, a bit more on project management or on management or marketing or whatever, just to get this feeling that, do I really want to focus on or I really want to go to academia? I think my university didn't have that in Croatia, but I think this is what is missing. I would say it would be good if universities would have this aspect a bit, not that you have to do MBA completely and then another thing completely, having something in between. And if anybody has a chance to do internship, I would definitely say yes, go for it. In Croatia, we didn't really have that system at the time when I was doing my courses, because it just wasn't there. Maybe now it's definitely different. But I would say yes, if you have a chance, do an internship, because you might say, oh, I don't like this at all. I'm not for this. Just let me be in the lab and this is what makes me happy, or, research makes me happy, or you might find totally opposite. Excellent.
Some great points made. And I'm glad that KAUST gave you the opportunity to move into a role that you seem to thrive in and love. So Nuha, if I pass it over to you, if you could tell us exactly the same, how did you get to where you are now? You were assistant professor, if I'm right, in King Abdulaziz University in Jeddah. That's amazing. Tell us some more.
Yeah, actually, after I get my PhD degree, my plan was to apply to a local universities in Saudi Arabia. Actually, I got my bachelor degree from King Abdulaziz University. So I'm familiar with the environment of the academia there. I'm familiar with the staff and courses, because I took similar courses when I was a bachelor student. So, and I like teaching. I like to teach undergrad students and also graduate students. So I decided to apply to King Abdulaziz University. They're like a position of assistant professor in physics department. So I applied. Of course, it took a long time to be like accepted, because it's like a job from the government. So it is like more difficult than the company or private sector to get like this job. So I was so patient to wait until around 9 months to
Wow.
get that job. Yeah. Because it worth to wait, يعني, this kind of job. And yeah, after that, after I being accepted, I started maybe the first 2 years. It is totally teaching, only teaching, no like no time to do research because I was يعني, so busy with preparing new courses, new lessons. It is somehow new experience for me because yeah, 4 or 5 years with master and PhD and doing research. So to come back to teaching, it يعني, takes time. But after that, in the third year of my career, I started to supervising master students. Actually, I have international and national students, master students. And
MashaAllah.
I established a small research group in a small lab with the collaboration with KAUST. I'm very grateful for this opportunity. So yeah, my schedule now it's divided by teaching undergrad student and graduate student and doing research with the master students. And I like this combination. It is challenging to get enough time to do both, in addition to some administrative work like attending meetings, filling forms, something like this. But it needs like a time management skill, in addition to a high power of the passion. Because personally, I like the physics courses and non-material courses. This is my specialist. So when I prepare that lessons, I very like this kind of courses because if I don't have the passion or high energy, it will be more difficult.
Yeah, brilliant. I think, yeah, it sounds hectic, basically. To me,
Yeah.
it sounds crazy. But I think you're being too modest as well. I think you seem to be thriving in your lab. You're back collaborating with KAUST as well, which just speaks a lot about your character, that you've gone from King Abdulaziz to KAUST, back to King Abdulaziz, now collaborating with us again.
Yes.
This is fantastic. And there's no doubt that you're inspiring young minds during your lectures. This is, as you said, you have to be very passionate in what you do.
Yes.
So this is absolutely wonderful, Nuha. Thank you.
Alhamdulillah.
Shahad, if you could tell us the same, how did you get to where you are now in MIT in the States? Please tell us your story.
So I knew from day one that I want to pursue academia, and generally I'm a person who like making plans. So my plan A was to pursue academia and find a good postdoctoral position. Plan B was to go for an industry. And so I started applying during the last year of my PhD for like postdoctoral positions. I almost submitted like 50 applications, and I got 5 responses out of the 50, and all responded no. So I got just 5 rejections. Yeah. So
that they don't tell you when you're doing a PhD, right? Is that only 1 to 2% actually make it into academia.
Yeah, I mean, back then I felt like so depressed, and I mean, I worked so hard, and it didn't seem to be enough to get a position in academia. So, but it seemed like industry was working. So I get a position in industry. My advisor was not supportive for an industry, and I applied at the IBK fellowship. And then when I was accepted, I was almost accepting the other position at the industry. So I started, I decided to follow what I like doing and what my passion. And my advisor was actually supportive for that. And so she pushed me to accept this position because, I mean, I don't see myself in industry. It's a good opportunity for someone who likes industry, but I find myself, in academia. So, and it's, as Noha said, you should follow your passion. So yeah, and then I ended up, IBK is a fellowship for female to pursue their academic career in MIT. So yeah, I started doing.
What does IBK stand for?
Ibn Khaldun Fellowship.
Wow. Okay, so it sounds extremely prestigious. Congratulations.
Thank you. So yeah, and here I am today.
Yeah, here you are. I mean, I'm sorry that you were depressed, but you know, when it rains, it pours. You had two options then in the end.
This is it. But I mean, generally speaking, you don't see the full picture. If I don't get the rejections or action, so I wouldn't be at MIT. So I would be at somewhere else. So that is, you need to look at the, full side of the glass. So yeah. And yeah.
Do you think it makes you stronger because you got those 5 rejections out of 50?
I mean, yeah, in terms of, I stopped evaluating my performance based on the rejections. I do my best not to get, or not to be accepted by others, but I do my best to fulfill my passion and my desires. So yeah, this is what I learned from the rejections which I got, but yeah.
Thank you, Shahad.
I agree with Shahad, and I think I was in a similar situation before I came to KAUST. When I finished my master, I also applied throughout Croatia in different places, and I got very little responses. Actually, I got one response after 5 years to my
Where? Could you say that online?
I was so depressed, but as you said, if I didn't got all these rejections, I wouldn't be here today, So, and I think it's important for students. It doesn't mean that something is wrong with you as a person, that you are doing something wrong. It's you're not the right fit because of this or that, or it's just not your destiny. And something better is supposed to happen, and that's why you didn't get that job or postdoc or whatever it is. So that's a good point, Shahad.
I think Shahad also made a good point of knowing your own worth, especially as a female in science, in academia or industry, but just understanding your own worth and not letting those 5 rejections knock you down. It's just fantastic to see where you are now, Shahad. And actually, 5 is not too bad. I think when I was leaving Toronto and I was leaving academia trying to get into industry, which I never got into, I put out 88 job applications and heard back from 2. So that might put things in perspective a little bit. So I think basically, you guys are in really different areas. I know that Nuha and Shahad are both in academia, but they seem to be quite different, especially Nuha, you seem to have a very busy lecturing schedule. For me, when I was an academic, I always thought going into industry was like going over to the dark side. I'm so sorry, Sara. And I think a few people might actually think this as well, right? You get into academia, you do a PhD because you're so dedicated and passionate to the science, and oh my goodness, you couldn't go over to the dark side, which is industry. But it really does show, I think, then how you evolve throughout your PhD and then afterwards. So, Sara, what was your mindset when you went in to do your PhD in KAUST, and what's it like now? How have you evolved?
Well, I just want to have one comment before I answer that on the dark side of the industry.
I'm so sorry.
No. I think people don't know how much research actually is being done in industry. Because let's say if you buy the shampoo and your hair is nice and silky, do you think it just happens that we add something and it happens overnight? No, there is a really cool laboratory, a bit creepy, but very cool, with robots massaging the hair. There's so much research going into the everyday things that we use. So people think that there is not really research, but I'm in R&D in industry, right? So I'm still in research, but I think people just don't understand that there is extreme amount of research in the background of what, everything that we use today.
Great point. I'm sorry for my ignorance as well. All opinions are my own.
But in terms of the mindset, I think when you go into PhD in the beginning, maybe some people have exactly clear path of what, like Shahad mentioned, or where exactly what is your plan and where you want to go. And maybe some people just, hey, I do the PhD because that's kind of the natural step. Like I do my bachelor, do my master. I don't know what I want, so let me do the PhD and then I will try to figure out. So as I mentioned to you, I knew that I want to go to industry eventually, but for me, I wanted to do PhD because I wanted to, make sure I have that, the stepping stone. Whatever you decide later in the future, you will have that, whether it's academia or industry, it will give you that boost. And it's really important, I think, not just from the technical part, although we learn a lot, right, during the PhD in very, very technical aspect. But I think you also learn a lot of, more personality things that you can later implement in your life. For me, it was independence. I think that during a PhD, that's the number thing you have to learn, is how to be independent, how to think on your own. Of course, you have your colleagues, your friends to help you, but you cannot really ask them, hey, can you do this for me? Or so you really have to learn to be independent. So I think, and I'm sure all of us, the ladies would agree, in the end of the PhD, you realize, I wish if I could start over, I would do it totally different. I know exactly how I would manage my project, my papers, or whatever it is. So I think when my mindset was very open, in terms of what will I learn. And in the end, I was very surprised that, of course, you learn the technical, but you learn these traits that I think for me in industry, because in industry, you have to be very versatile. I worked in my undergrad on nanotechnology and analytical chemistry. Then my PhD was membranes, really. And then, and now I work in construction chemicals. So I'm all over the place. So, and that, that versatility really, and I think during PhD, you kind of learn, maybe not the different things, but you learn how, how to balance different things. You go to you have your, have to write your paper, or you have to do this, you have to present your data. So these small things you learn along the way is actually what helps you, later on when you go to your academia or industry or whatever it is.
Yes. And I think as humans, we are adaptable, and it sounds like you are extremely versatile individual as well, jumping from these different areas. Can I just ask, I'm sure our listeners are probably wondering, how did you exactly make that move into industry? Did you apply for a job, and did you go through an interview process, 2 or 3 interviews? Did you know somebody? Were you networking? If you could just elaborate on that.
So for me, I think I have a really interesting, I would say, the way of, getting a job, I would say. So I graduated 2016, and the commencement speaker was Andrew Liveris, who was at that time CEO for Dow. And he went on stage and he told 200 students his email address and to send his CV to him.
What kind of man?
I know. So, and at first I thought, no, I'm not going to send it. Like, it doesn't seem, but actually, and then, everybody was sending emails, and my husband even said, hey, why don't send it? I mean, it's just an email address, but I thought, no, that's not how the things go. You have to, go through this and that. But in the end, I did send an email, and then, I went to the interview directly, so it wasn't with the local team that manages this. So that was kind of interesting, because I mean, I don't think, usually people think that, I mean, this is one another advice. People think that, they should go through, there is, of course, official process in KAUST. I know that they also manage the way you get into jobs, but I would advise just find the people that you want to talk to and send them your CV, whether it's a HR person or a manager or professor or whoever. If you just send them an email, hey, I like your group, I like what you're doing, or I like the company, and, this is my CV. I mean, nothing bad will come out of that. So that would be my advice.
Great advice. Thank you, Sara. Nuha, I guess the same thing. What was your mindset when you were doing your PhD at KAUST, and how is it now? What have you learned and how have you evolved?
Yeah, actually, in KAUST as a master and PhD student, I was that student who preferred to work independently and quietly. I think that to finish quickly, even in studying or doing research or even solving homeworks, I prefer that to be individual worker. But then after that, I realized that the right choice of the group members can be more effective than the individual work. It saves time. It can be each member can focus on specific tasks, so the quality will be maybe better, especially with collaboration with different experiences. And yeah, I applied, for example, I applied that strategy in doing research now with collaboration with KAUST, with many faculty from our university, with different departments, not only from the physics department, from chemistry and other departments. So we can work in many projects, research projects in parallel at the same time. Each member can focus on his or her expertise. So by this strategy, I'm grateful. Alhamdulillah, I have been published in this year 4 research papers. Yeah, which is better than the last year. I was working only with one collaboration, so it was one paper last year. So yeah, this is, I think, good to have like a group working or team working skills in research or other any projects with the right members.
Yeah, brilliant. Thank you, Nuha. So I'm hearing adaptability, versatility, being a team player. Fantastic. Shahad, then same for you. What was your mindset when you started your PhD versus now? Like, what have you learned?
So when I started, I learned how to be a researcher, and I focused on basic research. But later on, when I joined MIT, I started seeing my research as a product, a potential product. So you start thinking of commercialization and how to make this one or the research you do or how to apply the research you do into real life application. So, and even though I endorse what you, Nadia, and Sara said before about research and industry, but I see also how academic research is a main driver for economic development. So yeah, we complement each other somehow.
Agreed, absolutely. And do you mind telling us what it is exactly you do in MIT? What are you working on? What research are you working on?
So before at KAUST, I used to work on drug delivery.
Mm-hmm.
But when I joined MIT, I'm still working on drug delivery. I can say that I work on biologics delivery, which is more general term for what I use. But now I started looking more into food industry, and I try to deliver or actually improve the stability of micronutrients we have in food, depending on cooking practices. So, different countries have different cooking practices, which affects the micronutrients in food. So you need to come up with a technology that can stabilize micronutrients based on different people cooking practices. So yeah, this is what I work on now.
Well, thank you. And thank you all as well for making me appreciate, I guess, the different pockets and the different pathways that perhaps you've all taken. And yeah, I think there's one thing that we can say is that, academia is the stepping stone to, commercialization and technology transfer, and then moving into industry. They are so interlinked. We should never forget that, especially coming from KAUST, a science and technology university. And it's just really interesting to hear as well, how you guys started and where you are now. And it sounds like you've grown an awful lot. And I hope that KAUST gave you the opportunity to grow. And it sounds like KAUST has. So what advice would you give to your listeners right now who are doing their PhDs? And there's one thing that I want to take into consideration, perhaps that we haven't talked about, is our actual lives. So I believe some of you are mothers, working mothers. Some of you get up at really early times in the morning to work out and have hectic workout schedules, which I can totally appreciate. So what advice would you give to your listeners who are doing their PhDs, coming from you as a female, as a mother, as a scientist, as a former graduate of KAUST? Sara, what advice would you give?
This too shall pass. That's number one. I remember, Shahad, do you remember I used to see you all the time between building 4 and 5, and we both look depressed, during the PhD. And then when you go to your commencement, there is no better feeling, right? When you go there, when you see your friends, everybody's like, getting stuck from the smiling. And I think there is no better feeling. So I think it will pass. I think everybody, you feel frustrated, you feel, why am I doing this? I should just enjoy my life and do something else. But it's really, you will be so proud of yourself when you've, not because you are super smart now or something, but just because you survived this and because you got so much knowledge in different areas, your personal, your, relation, your work ethics, everything. So just, hang in there, because in the end you feel really rewarded. In terms of, as I am a mother, I have 2 toddlers, and this year with this working from home has been really challenging, because it's impossible. It is impossible, I will say it, to work from home with kids. That is really not because I cannot get things done, because they need attention, and then I used to have, I used to lock my room. I just lock my room and I hear them screaming, and oh well, they will survive. So that's what I used to do. And, put in and Google how much cartoon is really bad for you. Like, what is the limit of watching TV in a day? But then again, as you said, I think women especially, you kind of, you sacrifice, maybe more on the family side than on the work side. But that comes from you, right? If you have your ambition, if you know what you want to do, then you will, like Shahad, waking up at 3 a.m. to do, her exercise, and Nuha juggling all these things. I think for women, we are, I don't want to say multitasking, but maybe really, better in adapting, or very good in adapting to this different, because we already have to do it by default, with or without COVID, this year we already have to do it, and you have to juggle it. But I think if we go back to the main advice, and I think we mentioned it as well before, KAUST offering a lot of good things. Talk to your colleagues, get advices from different sides if you want, but try to do things on your own as well. You will feel really good when you get that feeling that you can do it on your own as well. And in the end, you'll feel really, really rewarded. That's guaranteed, whatever you feel right now.
Very well said. Thank you, Sara. I have nothing to follow up with. That was very well said. Nuha, what advice would you give to your listeners who are doing their PhDs or thinking of doing their PhDs?
Yeah, I would like to focus on the time management. If you can manage the time of your day, you can enjoy the journey. I consider the PhD and master studies, it's like a journey. Some students just focus on the graduation day and forget to enjoy the moments, enjoy their days, to, for example, join in the social activities, and KAUST has amazing social activities, and also there are scientific activities like the clubs or student chapter. For example, I joined in Materials Research Society student chapter at KAUST. We enjoyed organizing some events, scientific and social events. And also for example, student council, the graduate student council at KAUST. It gives me experience in how things doing on the backstage of decision making. So these kind of opportunities offered by KAUST can develop the skills, personal skills, social skills, to enjoy the life with healthy and good environment. So at the end of the journey, it will be very nice memorize, even with some difficulties. But in total, when I remember my 4 or 5 years at KAUST, it was one of the most beautiful period in my time. So yeah, the key is to time management and try to enjoy and get useful benefit from the resources.
That is so nice. And you're so right. We have to be very mindful of ourselves as humans and as beings throughout the process, which we know PhD can be extremely tiring, depressing as well at the same time. Let's be honest and frank about this. And I mean, you three all seem like very strong individuals as well, ready to overcome anything. Nuha, you in particular seem to like to be extremely busy, and especially with extracurricular activities.
Yeah, actually I'm supervising for bachelor student for training. So this is one of the things that I like to link between the academia and to do research or internship in to visiting some companies related to physics department. So yeah, as Sara mentioned about the importance of internship, so this is one of the advice for student, master or PhD student, to get this opportunity of visiting some, to discover the opportunities before they graduate.
Excellent. Shahad, what advice would you give to your listeners who are doing their PhDs or thinking of doing their PhDs?
So be patient, because research needs patience. Be persistent, and of course, take time for yourself. And remember, if you don't take time for your wellness, you'll take time for your illness. And enjoy the journey.
Short but sweet. I love it, Shahad. Brilliant advice. Thank you.
So nice. And you know what else? What I really like, something that Nuha said that made me think. I think when you go from KAUST, you have such a different mindset, right? Because you meet so many different people from so many countries, and it's so inclusive and diverse at the same time. And then I'm so happy when I see my friends, colleagues in Saudi, like going to different places and kind of bringing that with them. You know, so you kind of change the mindset even wherever you go, basically. I really like that.
Absolutely. I think if I were to give some advice, I know I'm a moderator, I'm not a panelist, but if I were to say something, I would always say networking is key. And even just speaking with you three today, I feel blessed to talk to you and be introduced to you as well, because you are all extremely inspiring and strong individuals as well as females. But yes, networking is really important, I think, is, you know, for knowing what you want to go into. The worst that anybody can ever say to you is no. If you know somebody who's in industry or in academia and you want to approach them and just say, let's have a coffee, can I ask you about your role? What's the harm in that? The worst thing they can do is say no, right? So yeah, I do think it's really important as well. And you three seem like individuals, very approachable individuals. And I'd say that you also would lift other women up as well. And I appreciate that. So one last question, which I think is perhaps a little bit silly question, but did you enjoy your time at KAUST?
I'm still here.
This is enough of answer. If she is not enjoy, will not stay.
Exactly.
Well, I think, Sara, you said it at the beginning, right? You know, you feel like you wanted to give back, and that's why you were doing this alumni panel. And it seems like KAUST has given all three of you a lot. And thank you very much for being on this panel today and giving back.
Thank you for this initiative.
Okay, brilliant. Thank you.
Good to see you all. It was a great opportunity.